Good evening, students. Welcome to Ekcel Academy's live session. I hope. Welcome to Ekcel Academy live session. I hope I'm audible. Right. Okay. So I think others would join in a while. By the time they're joining, let us have some glimpses of Ekcel Academy's offerings. So we would just like to bring it to your notice that for the November 2021 examination, so we have started the registration process. This is for the live classes. So these classes will be online. Anybody from any part of the country looking for CSEET classes in English can definitely register yourself for this course. There is an early bird offer which is available. So at discounted price, the classes are being made available to the students. So the batch is going to start from 1st of August. So we are on 15th of July. So we have another 15 days to go for the next batch to start. So just to tell you all about what exactly we do, these live sessions happen in such a way that students can get the best of these classes. All the faculty members are not only highly experienced and qualified, but they have great insights with respect to the CSEET course. And the most common question that we get from students is, in which language are these classes done? Ekcel Academy conducts all its classes in English. So the classes would be in English. Whichever part of the country you've come from, you can attend our classes and understand it very easily. Now, what are the other bonuses that you can expect by enrolling to this course is a complete syllabus in the form of recorded classes. If in case you miss it, you can always go back and check the video classes. Then MCQs and mock tests. So this is something which is very, very important. Generally, we see the students who make it and the students who don't make it. When we see, what we see is those who actually practice as many MCQs as possible are the ones who generally make it to the next level. So MCQs are the key. The more the MCQs you solve, greater would be the chance for you to clear the examination. There will be daily mentorship program. You can always get in touch with the teachers, even with the promoter of Ekcel Academy, so you can get the inputs and notes, and there are a lot of other things that are offered to you. So you just have to go to www.excelacademy.com. Please pay attention to the spelling. It is not EX, it is EKCEL academy.com, and you would get the registration form, a very simple registration form with very few fields. You can fill it and you can register yourself for the upcoming batch. The phone numbers are also given. The WhatsApp numbers are given, in fact. So you can just send a message to this WhatsApp numbers, and the support team will get in touch with you immediately, and they will give you all the required information so that you can do well in your upcoming CSEET exam. So this is something which I wanted to tell you all before we start with the class. Anyway, in the last 2 weeks, I've been coming live and talking to you all about the CSEET papers and discussing few topics related to it. Not only that, my other colleagues, Vishwas and Madhuri ma'am and Alok sir, all of them are coming live, and we are conducting these classes. This is to help you all prepare for the examination so that you do well. So if you have any doubts, you can always use the chat box and you can leave your doubts, and I would be answering these doubts. So this is something which I wanted to tell you all in the beginning itself, even before we start the class. Give me a moment. I will open today's material and we can have the discussion. Okay, so let us have certain things in place. So the course, like all of you know, is CSEET. CSEET stands for Company Secretary Executive Entrance Test. So this is an entrance test. And the paper that I am discussing today is Economic and Business Environment. This is a paper that I would be discussing with you all. And the focus is on chapter 3. And the title of this chapter is Indian Union Budget. So even before we get into the Indian Union budget, let us understand certain things and let's see how we can take this forward. Now, what is budget according to you all? You can just leave your views on budget in the comment section. Have you all heard this word budget earlier? And what do you understand or what do you think when you come across this word budget? Can somebody tell? All of you are free to leave your answers in the comment section. Okay, I'm not getting any answers. Anyway, so budget, the word budget is generally related to finance. So when I say finance, it means that it is related to money, correct? And what do we do here? What do we do in case of budget is, okay, Pooja Chinnappan has sent a message, video is not clear, sir. No, I've just opened the screen, Pooja. So there is no video. This is just a screen. Okay. So the point here is it is related to money. Let's take a simple example, which you and I both would have come across this. Suppose we want to go to a movie. So let us list out all the expenses that we might occur. Say we are going by a two-wheeler. So anyway, we are not considering the money that we are spending on petrol. So the first expense that we incur is in the parking lot. We have to pay the parking fees. That's the first one. Then what do? We have to buy the movie tickets. After that, what happens? During the interval, we have to spend some money, right? Let us say parking lot charges is 20 rupees. Movie ticket is say 100 rupees. And interval, we spend another 100 rupees, right? And while going back home, we stop at a small cafe, eat something again, and then go home. Say we spend another 50 rupees. So when we total this up, it comes to 270 rupees. So if we have to go and watch a movie, so what is the money that we have to keep aside? We have to keep aside 270 rupees. And which are the different heads on which we are spending this money? We are spending it on parking lot, on movie tickets, on interval, and to go to a small cafe after the movie. So what do we understand now? We have done the budgeting. So we had some money, we planned these are the different expenditures, and then we arrived at the total. This is one part of the budget. Which part is this? This is the expenditure part. So before incurring expenditure, that is before spending the money, what should we do? We should earn. So what is that called? That is called the income. Maybe your salary is 5,000 rupees. So income is 5,000. Expenditure on movie in particular is 270. So this became the budget for movie. So here we are talking about income. Here we are talking about expenditure, and we have a statement ready. And this becomes the budget. So how do we define this word budget? This is an important definition. So budget is a financial statement. This word is very important. Budget is a financial statement. So it talks about money. It is a financial statement which talks about two things. What is it? One is the income and other is the expenditure. Simple, isn't it? So budget is a financial statement which talks about two important parts. What are they? One is the income and other is the expenditure. Simple. So this is about the budget. So the budget that I just told you now is what? It is individual budget, right? But here, what are we discussing? We're discussing the Indian Union budget. So we are talking about India. India is a huge country, right? So such country's budget is being discussed in this class. So the discussion is definitely on Indian budget, but this is a vast chapter, requires multiple sessions to complete. In this class, let us focus on two important things related to budget. The first part, these are called the learning objectives. So what is it that we are going to learn in this chapter? One is in this session, in fact, one is the A point is we will read about the interesting facts related to budget. This is very important so that we come to know the historic things of our budget, right? And the second part, we will discuss the key terminologies, right? Key terminologies that one should know before understanding budget. If you are thorough with the key terminologies, then understanding this whole concept of Indian Union budget becomes very easy. So the learning objectives of this chapter is, let us go through the important facts and figures related to Indian budget. Then we will discuss the key terminologies. So that's the learning objective. So this is the introduction which I wanted to give you all. I hope you have understood what exactly we'll be doing in this particular session. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. I shall definitely try to answer your question. Right. So shall we move ahead and let us understand the things that we are supposed to learn. Right. Some interesting facts. Let's start with the first one. All these things are there in your syllabus. So you should definitely glance it once so that it becomes easy for you. The first point here is the first Indian budget was presented by Mr. James Wilson. This can be an MCQ question. Who presented the first Indian budget? So it was presented by Mr. James Wilson on February 18th, 1869. 1869 is an important year if you remember. Mahatma Gandhi was born on 2nd October 1869. So you can relate the two. So the first Indian budget was presented in the year 1869 and it was presented by an English person. Right. And his name is Mr. James Wilson. Okay. And it was presented, although Indian budget was introduced on 7th April 1860 by East India Company. So it was introduced in 1860, but the first one was presented in the year 1869. Okay. Next thing is the first budget of independent India was presented by the then finance minister, Mr. R.K. Shanmugha Chetty. Important, again important to be remembered. Who presented the first budget of independent India? It was presented by R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. Important, again, name is to be remembered. And it was presented on November the 26th, 1947. So we got independence on 15th of August, 1947. The first Indian budget was presented of independent India was presented on 26th November, 1947. Till 1955, budget was only printed in English language. However, in 1955-56, budget started getting printed in both languages, that is Hindi and English. So even to this day, the English influence is seen in our economy, in our political system, in our administration. So this is an example for this. Fortunately, we came out of it pretty quickly. By 1955, we started presenting or printing the budget in Hindi as well. Otherwise, the budget was printed only in English. There are many aspects like this you should be knowing. Till about year 2000, budget was presented in the evening around 5 o'clock because it will be 11 o'clock in the United Kingdom. So such things are always there. We are still following certain things which were practiced during the time of British. So we have to move out of it. Some interesting facts. We will continue. In the British era, the budget used to be presented at 5 p.m. This is what I was telling you. It was presented at 5 p.m. This practice was discontinued in the year 2001. So how many years after independence? Almost after 54 years of independence, we finally changed the time at which the Indian budget was being presented, right? By presenting the budget at 11 a.m. Now, the budget presentation in the Lok Sabha starts at 11 a.m. in the morning. Otherwise, till 2001, it was presented at 5 p.m. When it is 5 here, it is 11 at UK. So that's how the 5 p.m. was set. Until 2017, the ritual was to present the budget on the last working day of February. From last 2 years, budget is now presented on the first working day of February. Now understand this. The Indian financial year starts from 1st of April and ends on 31st of March. It starts on 1st of April and ends on 31st of March. I think all of you would be aware of this because all of you are accountancy students, correct? So what was done earlier was on the last day of Feb, the budget was presented. So there used to be 1 month for the budget to be implemented. But now it is being pushed to the first working day of February. The idea is, like many other Western countries, in India also, the plan is to make the calendar year and the financial year the same. So the calendar year, if you go by the Gregorian calendar, it is from 1st Jan to 31st of December. So the idea is to make the financial year and the calendar year same. So slowly it is being pushed, and comes a day where the budget would be presented in the month of December. This is the indication that we are getting through this point. Anyway, we just have to wait and watch. Mr. K.C. Niyogi and H.N. Bahuguna were the only two finance ministers who did not present any Indian budget. Maybe the government would have fallen and they would not have presented the budget, or maybe because of any other reason. Anyway, so these are the two finance ministers who have not presented the budget. Right. Some interesting facts. Let us continue. There are a few more points that are given. The record of presenting maximum number of budget is held by Shri Morarji Desai, and he has presented 10 budgets. Morarji Desai was also the Prime Minister of the country. Soon after emergency, India went for elections. It was 1977, and Janata Party formed the government. So in that government, Morarji Desai was the Prime Minister of the country as well. He was a part of Nehru's cabinet as well as Indira Gandhi's cabinet. Right. For the first time in 92 years, Union budget of 2017 merged with the rail budget, which was usually presented separately. So what used to happen earlier was the railway budget was presented 1 day before the budget, the Union budget. So from 2017, what is being done is the railway budget is merged with the Union budget. So there is no separate budget that is being presented for the railways. So this is again an important point which we have to remember. So now there is only one Union budget. Right. Key terminologies. This is where the second part of this session is. There are some 10, 12 terminologies which we have to learn, which is very, very important. Okay. So here we are talking about the first one. It is the annual financial statement. So that's the first word which all of us have to understand. What is annual financial statement? According to Article 112 of Indian Constitution, this article is important. Please remember this word. Requires the government to present to Parliament a statement of estimate, receipts and expenditure in respect of every financial year. So it becomes the duty of the government according to the Constitution to present to the House what is the income that it is expecting and what is the expenditure that it is planning for the period 1st of April to March 31st. Very, very important. So remember the article number, Article 112, and the financial year is from April 1st to March 31st. Please read this. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me and get it clarified. Daddy. Right. I hope all of you are clear with the first terminology, which is very important. It is a financial statement. If you remember the definition which we discussed, in the definition I told you all, budget is a financial statement, right? So it talks about income and expenditure. That's what exactly has been told in this definition. So here we have to understand what is financial statement. I hope all of you have understood it. Let's proceed ahead. How long is the annual financial statement? So the finance ministry comes out with the financial statement. So how long is it? It'll be 10 pages long. This is again a very potential MCQ question, right? How long would be the annual financial statement? So the annual financial statement is 10 pages long. So in that, the finance minister has to tell what is the income and what is the expenditure, right? Name the parts of the annual financial statement. So annual financial statement will have three parts. First part is the consolidated fund. Second part is the contingency fund. And the third part is the public account. Very, very important. Again, a question which you can expect in the examination. Which are the three parts of annual financial statement? Consolidated fund, contingency fund, and the public account. Very important. Please mug up. These are memory-based questions. There is nothing much to understand, or there is no concept related to it. It is to be memorized and it should be there in the memory. First one is, how long is the financial statement? It is 10 pages long. And which are the three parts in it? Consolidated fund, contingency fund, and the public account. Right. What is consolidated fund? Now we are taking each fund separately and trying to understand what exactly it means. So what is consolidated fund? Very important. See, like I told you, if you understand these key terminologies really well, understanding budget becomes very easy. Next time, whenever the budget is presented, you will be in a position to understand the exact things that the finance minister is presenting. Let's take a pause here. Pooja Chinnapan has sent a few questions, so let me take it. Video is not clear. I think it is clear now, Pooja. Second thing is, sir, I enrolled for CSEET coaching. So this is my first live YouTube. So how do I start? No, Pooja, this is just a session to help everybody to understand how exactly the CSEET exams are and the concepts are. If you have enrolled for the course, you will have different set of classes, and those classes will be on Zoom, right? And the classes are going to start from 1st of August. So this is not your regular enrolled live session. This is just for you to listen and understand. How to start this concept, sir? Once the online classes starts, teachers will come. They will teach the concepts to you, and there you can understand it. Okay, do not worry. This is just to make you all understand how exactly the CSEET course is. This is not the live session. For those who have enrolled, the live sessions will be on Zoom platform. I hope I have answered all your questions. Okay, let's go ahead. So consolidated fund. What is the meaning of consolidated fund? All revenue raised by government or money borrowed, receipts from loans given by government flow into consolidated fund. So this is like a big tank that is there. All the money that the government earns should come and fall into this tank. So that is called the consolidated account. So to this tank, from here only, all the expenditure also should happen. Correct? All the expenditure also should happen from this account only. So such an account is called the consolidated fund. Please remember, very, very important. All that the government earns, all that the government gets, right? So that has to be accounted or remitted into one account, and that is the consolidated fund. And from this account only, all the expenditures that government has to meet is also taken care. So such an account is called the consolidated fund. Right, let's go ahead. Contingency fund. So what is the meaning of the word contingency? Contingency is to meet the emergency. So from where does the government meet the exceptional expenses? Take the example of Corona now. Nobody knew. Even in 2019, January, nobody knew that this would become such a big issue across the world. Now, businesses, societies, everybody are under the problem of Corona. So what happens? How will government meet this kind of unforeseen expenses, unexpected expenses? It is met through the contingency fund. Exceptional items are met from contingency fund, or the public account. No money can be withdrawn from this fund without Parliament's approval. So the Parliament has to approve if the money has to be withdrawn from the contingency fund. Very, very important. Concern from where does government meet the exceptional expenses? It is through the contingency fund. Now, what is demand for grants? Another important concept that you have to remember. What is demand for grants? Government, according to the Article 113, in the beginning, we discussed the definition of financial statement. There I had told you it is according to Article 112, but here demand for draft is discussed in the 113th article of the Constitution. Important for us to remember this. Should present an estimate of the expenditure in Lok Sabha and it should be voted. So the government of India, whichever party has formed the government, so they have to come out and in the Lok Sabha, they have to tell for what are they spending the money. Demand for grants includes, so what are the things that it carries? It carries revenue expenditure. We will discuss what is revenue expenditure, but as of now, let us know this. The demand for draft, when government tells the House that they are spending the money, they should tell under revenue expenditure, what is the money they are spending, under capital expenditure, what is the money they are spending, and what is the grants. Grants is the help that they are giving to the states and union territories. So what is the loan and advances that they are giving? All these things should be made very clear to the Lok Sabha. So what do we understand here? Demand for grants means government of India, whichever party has formed the government, they should come to the House and they should tell that what are the different heads on which they are spending the money. So it is broadly classified as revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, and the grants. Very important to remember, there can be questions. What is appropriation bill? This is the next thing that we are learning. Appropriation bill gives power to government to withdraw funds from the consolidated fund of India. So in the beginning, we discussed that all the money that government of India gets should be deposited in the consolidated fund. Fantastic. So once that money is put, I also told for all the expenditure from that account only, the money should be withdrawn and it should be used. So the government of India should be given the authority to withdraw money from that account, and that is called the appropriation bill, right? Appropriation bill is the power to the government to withdraw funds from the consolidated fund of India for meeting the expenditure during the financial year. So in the financial year, which is between 1st of April and 31st of March, right? What is the expenditure the government is expecting to do? And the government should be given the license or the permission to withdraw the funds. And that is called appropriation bill. Appropriation bill is introduced by government post the budget discussion. So what happens now? The finance minister will present the budget, right? And after that, the ruling party as well as the opposition party will discuss the finer details of the budget. So if they have any questions, if they have objections, if they have got appreciation, all those things should be presented by the members of the House. Later, once all the things are clarified, government will seek permission from the House to withdraw money from the consolidated account, and that bill they present is called the appropriation bill. Very important. You should remember this. Right. Let's go ahead. What is finance bill? So this is according to Article 110. First, we discussed Article 112. Then we discussed Article 113. Now we are discussing something which is in Article 110. According to Article 110, finance bill contains proposal of the government for levy of new taxes, modification of existing tax structure, or continuance of the existing tax structure beyond the period approved by Parliament are submitted to Parliament through this bill. See, one of the most important sources of income to the government of India is tax. Correct? We can broadly divide the types of tax into two. One is the direct tax, other is the indirect tax. Direct tax and the indirect tax. So in indirect tax today, the most prominent tax is GST. So there are different goods and services which are categorized under 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 26%, and 26%, right? So now, if government wants to change this, change the structure or whatever it has to be presented through the finance bill. Direct tax, the best example is the income tax. So under income tax, if the government wants to increase the standard deduction, if the government wants to exempt few people from taxation or include few people into the tax bracket, all such things should be told to the house, right? Either to bring in new taxes or to discontinue taxes or to continue with the taxes. Everything has to be discussed in the house, and that is discussed through a bill, and that bill is called the finance bill. Finance bill can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. If you remember your high school civics, we had studied that there are two houses in our country, the lower house and the upper house. The lower house is Lok Sabha, the upper house is Rajya Sabha. So in Lok Sabha, what happens? In Lok Sabha, we have representatives who are directly elected by the people. Rajya Sabha will have people who are indirectly elected by the people. Say the MLAs whom we elect to our state government, they will elect the Rajya Sabha members, right? So there are two houses which we have to remember. One is the Lok Sabha, other is the Rajya Sabha. So the finance bill about tax, it is presented only in Lok Sabha. It is discussed in Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha. The bill has to be passed in the parliament within 75 days. So finance bill, when they come out with new tax policies, within 75 days after the conclusion of the budget discussion, it has to be approved. 75 days is around 2.5 months. So in that, it has to be done. Very important. Please remember what is finance bill. What is contingency fund? Any urgent or unforeseen expenditure is met from this fund. Contingency fund in India is 500 crore rupees. Important, please remember, can be an MCQ question. What is the value of contingency fund in India? It is 500 crore rupees. This fund is at the disposal of the president of the country. Important, remember this. This doesn't come under prime minister or the finance minister. This comes directly under the president of the country. The utilization of these funds needs approval from the parliament. So the government of India should present this in the parliament and state the right reasons why they are drawing this 500 crores from the contingency fund and for what they are using it. Once the parliament approves it, then it can be utilized. The fund used for contingency fund is to be returned. It is like taking loans. It is with the President of India. President of India gives it if there are any unforeseen expenditures. And once those expenditures are met, government has to collect that money and give it back to the President of India. So this is very, very important. This slide is talking to us about the contingency funds. Let's go to the next part. What is public account? It is a fund to account for flows for those transactions where the government is merely acting as a banker, provident fund. See, let's take a very simple example. There is an employee whose basic salary is say 10,000 rupees. I'm taking a very hypothetical example. His salary is 10,000 rupees. And from this, 24% is deducted. And it is deposited in the Employee Provident Fund account, right? EPFO, Employee Provident Fund account. So what happens now is 2,400 rupees will be deducted from this person's salary and it will be deposited in the Provident Fund. So what the government will do is government will collect this money. Government will, of course, utilize this money, but with profit, with interest, it has to give back this money to the person who has deposited it. Very important. Please remember, such accounts are called public accounts. The job of the government is just as that of a bank, right? It is just acting as a banker. Collect deposits, lend it to somebody, collect interest, and give back the principal and the interest. So that is what government does. So such accounts are called public accounts. Expenditure from public account are not required to be approved by parliament. Anyway, so this is not, it need not be presented in the parliament. government can take the decision. But government has to present the receipt and expenditure statement. But government should tell how much of the money came to such accounts, that is the public account, and for what it was utilized. That information should be given to the parliament. This is about the public account. Revenue receipt and revenue expenditure. Revenue receipt and revenue expenditure. First, let us discuss what is revenue expenditure. Any expenditure that do not create asset is a revenue expenditure. Very, very, very important. Most commonly asked question in the exam. What is revenue expenditure? Government is spending money. The moment we use the word expenditure, it means that expenditure is happening. But there are no assets that are created. Say, for example, there are government employees. So these government employees go to the government office and they work, right? And at the end of the month, government provides them with salaries. So did government create any asset? Did it buy a land? Was it able to build a building? Was any bridge or highway or flyover built? Nothing was done. No physical assets were created, but government employees were paid their salary. So such expenditures where there is no creation of any assets, such expenditure is called revenue expenditure. What is revenue receipt? Any receipt of money without sale of any asset is called revenue receipt. See, we pay tax. Say, for example, you and I go to a restaurant. We will have food there. Along after having the food, we also pay the tax on that. Say, for example, our bill is 100 rupees. Let us say 18 rupees is the tax. So 118 rupees is paid. So this 18 rupees goes to the government. Government is getting money. But did government sell anything that it had? Definitely not. The service was provided by the restaurant. We availed the service. For availing the service, we paid the tax, and that tax went to the government. So there is no asset that was liquidated by the government. So such receipts are called the revenue receipts. Very important. Please remember this concept: revenue expenditure and revenue receipt. Revenue expenditure is government is spending money, but there are no assets created. And what are revenue receipts? Government is getting money, but government is not selling any of its assets. Very important concept which you should remember. Capital receipt and capital expenditure, opposite of it. What is capital receipt? When government sells some assets, liquidates it, then what happens is it gets some amount, and that is capital receipt. For example, disinvestment. We have the public sector units. Government has shares in that. So what will government do? Government will disinvest. Government will sell the shares. So what did government lose? Shares. What did government get? Money. So the getting money is receipt. What was sold? Capital was sold. So it is capital receipt. What is capital expenditure? When government spends money, it creates some assets for itself. It creates some assets for itself. So such a money is called the capital expenditure. Capital account, all the receipts and expenditures that are liquidate or create an asset would be in general be under capital account. So all that we do is put here. So this is the capital account. Right. So this would be the last slide. So with this, we will wind up this session. Preparation of budget. So when budget is being prepared, how is it prepared? It is a tedious job. It is very, very difficult. It is not easy. We see the finance minister coming and presenting the budget in 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours and all that. But this would have taken months together to prepare, right? Department of Economics. So who are the people who are consulted? Department of Economics, Department of Revenue, meet the stakeholders and collect the relevant information. So these people go out. So they talk to small business owners. They talk to big corporates. They talk to academicians. They talk to individuals. They talk to families. They talk to a lot of people and try to understand what exactly is the need. How exactly is the economy performing? So based on that, they give all the information to the finance ministry. Finance minister takes the final call on taxes, right? Finance minister discusses the proposals with the prime minister before presenting it in the parliament. So Department of Economic Affairs, Department of Revenue, they both collect all the data, come and present it to the finance minister. Then they jointly prepare the budget and then the budget is taken to the Prime Minister of the country. The Finance Minister explains the budget to the Finance Minister of the country. Later, after the Prime Minister approving it, Finance Minister will present it in the Lok Sabha. So this is how the process of budget is carried on. I hope you all learned certain things. Like I told you, we had two objectives that we set for this session. First objective was to know the important facts and figures related to the Indian budget, which we did. In the second part, we are trying to understand that the important terminologies that we use while creating the budget. If we know those key terminologies well, then understanding budget becomes very easy. If you have any doubts, you can leave it in the comment section. I shall try to answer it. If there are no doubts, we can wind up this session and maybe meet later at some point and discuss some other topics. So let me just remind you, from 1st of August, we are starting our live sessions. And this is to prepare you all for the exams, which will be conducted in the month of November. So if you are yet to register, you just have to visit our website. And our website is www.ekcelacademy.com, right? Academy.com. This is a website which you have to visit. There is a simple form which you have to fill, and our support team will get in touch with you. So this is some of the information that I wanted to share with you all. I hope you have learned certain things which is related to Union Budget of India. And thank you so much for attending the session.